101. So the very basics on it. I'm going to try and do it in about 30 to 35 minutes so that there's about 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A. Because I know I won't cover all of your questions, but I just want to give you a couple of nuggets about what it is and everything else. So I thought, again, first what we're going to talk about today, first I'll introduce myself really briefly. I'll try to keep it to 20 seconds. I like that. I'm going to say what is the cloud and what can it do for your business. So what is it? Defining it, I think, is a really good place to start. What are the pros and cons? So Judy already brought up a couple of cons, but why would you consider doing it? And what do you have to consider as a sort of cons? And then I'm going to get into some very concrete examples. This is what I use. These are tools I actually use. Some of them I have clients that have used. What are they being used for? To reduce my costs, help me collaborate with other people, and be more flexible. So I will give you some concrete examples. And then kind of the future of cloud technology amongst millennials. I'll briefly touch on that, but it's a way that a lot of them are using technology. A lot of them have no concept of a non-cloud world. So for them, this is all they know. So this is the norm. So a lot of these things I will talk about. I think that it'll be really interesting around customer experience, but for your business. So first about me. So this is in fact, this is me. I say my first photo shoot at 6 weeks. Even then I had a lot of hair. I just had a birthday on Tuesday, so I'm just sort of a couple of years away from that, right? And basically my background is I am, I would say, a recovering investment banker. I started my career as an investment banker, very much a finance girl. I do marketing in my sleep. It's what I love to do, but finance was a way to balance the sort of the marketing side. So
that's why we've got so many accountants here.
That's why you have so many accountants. So basically, I would say I'm a closet quant jock, as they would say, somebody who loves numbers. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about cloud computing, how it can help your business from a financial perspective as well. I do teach at UBC. I also teach at Langara, and I run a business called artsites.ca where we provide website hosting and online marketing for visual artists and artisans. So anything from painters to glass blowers to birdhouse makers. We've got about 600 artists and artisans that we work with, and we help them with their online digital presence. And again, so that's more solopreneurs than even entrepreneurs, right? That's like sort of running a business of one. So I work with a lot of those, and so today I'm going to bring some of that to my presentation. What is the cloud? So we talk about the cloud. Judy was like, what does this mean? We throw this term around. And in essence, for those of you who have a hard drive on your computer, historically we've stored all of our files and data on our hard drive. And now the cloud is really a place where we can store our data and our files on the internet, where they host it, they keep it on their servers, and they also may process it. So there might be some application of that data and things. So basically it is a remote server. It's a remote hard drive. It's probably the best way I like to think of it, where all of your data and your files live and are stored. And that's really the simplicity of it, but you can access it from anywhere, and different people in this. The reason I have lots of people is you're kind of sharing a server, right? So you have your little space, you have a slice of someone's server, and so does other people. As Judy mentioned, Gmail is probably the most common one, or Hotmail, or Yahoo, anyone who's using sort of a webmail client. Your email is being stored in the cloud. Each message is being stored there. It's not on your hard drive. You have to open up your browser and you have to connect to it, okay? So that's kind of what the cloud is. Any questions? Is that pretty straightforward? It's a pretty simple concept. I know it gets a lot more complicated once we get into why do you use this, right? So why would you use cloud services? The pros. So the biggest thing is costs. In some cases, I don't know, I'm probably dating myself. I remember when everybody had to buy a copy of Microsoft Outlook to run their email programs, and it cost you money. Gmail is free, Yahoo is free, there are all these free services. Even Shaw or TELUS have webmail clients. It can be free internet. So a lot of businesses are doing it for cost reasons, right? Upfront costs are much lower. You don't have to pay for all the servers, you don't have to pay for all the technology, all the software right up front, right? So generally costs, and generally the total cost of ownership. This is something in business we often talk about. How much does it cost you over the time that you use it, right? So you're not dealing with repairs, you might not be dealing with updates. There's a lot of things that happen that cloud computing allows you to do. You can get the latest and greatest, and I'll go into that in more detail. It can actually also perhaps save on some of your utility costs and electricity because you're not running servers. You're running less hardware in your office. So cloud computing can actually save you money on some of your literally utility costs and some of your operational costs as well. Now, also cloud computing allows you a lot of flexibility. Often you can go, I choose this service, I choose that service, you can maybe move around. So there's a lot more flexibility. You don't have to lock into something and go, well, I already spent $1,000, so I have to stick with it because now that's all there is. So you can kind of try different services, and again, I'll go around, there's kind of a flip side to that as well, but you can try different services and you have a lot more flexibility. They often have different plans, so you can choose the plan that works best for you. As a small business owner, I'm always looking for the free one, or maybe the one that's less than 20 bucks. That's kind of my budget, right? Because yes, 20 bucks isn't a lot, but if you start adding these up, it can add up to quite a bit of money over a monthly period. But is it plan A, is it plan B, is it plan C? What works best for me so I can actually keep my costs down? Speed. Sometimes you can set up an account quickly. You can get something going much more quickly than if you actually downloaded a software piece and you had to sort of do it yourself and build it from scratch. They often have wizards, they can get you going. It is to their benefit to get you productive as quickly as possible using their service. So speed is often a big thing for small businesses. I don't have time to learn about all this craziness. I just want somebody to give me a template, I fill in the blank fields, and I get going, right? I move on. I want to do my business, not necessarily spend time trying to figure out how to run every piece of my business. Cloud services also are 24/7, often data access, meaning you have access to your thing anywhere, anytime you have internet connectivity, right? So you just connect to the internet, and then you have access to it. I recently went to Europe for 2 weeks. I still ran my business. My husband cycled across the country in 2012. And we literally lived out of a VW camper van for 4.5 months and ran our business out of our VW camper van, right? Because everything was on the cloud, and so we could access it. We could do customer service, we could do our accounting, everything. As long as we had internet to Rogers or Bell, we had everyone, Rogers, Bell, TELUS, because it depended on where we were, we could run our business. So it is really great. It wasn't a physical location, it wasn't a cloud. Scalability, we all want to grow. Where we are is great today, but we all want to get bigger and have more success. And so how do you scale? If all of a sudden, overnight, to David's point, if David triples my customer base, oh my goodness, how do I handle that, right? What does that mean? How do I do that? A lot of cloud services, literally it's just, maybe I get the bigger plan now. And I literally go from one plan to the next, and all of a sudden I can actually deal with that scale to support them, right? So scalability, this idea of growing, if you had to do it yourself and buy more servers and get things online, you're kind of leaving that to them. You're letting them worry about scalability, and you're just growing your business. Updates. One of the benefits around software that's in the cloud is often the services will update it and provide the new services. We have a cloud service. Basically, we have a web design service that we offer to visual artists. We're always updating our software with the latest web design needs and tools so that they get really good ratings on Google. Our artists don't have to know anything about any of this. We just tell them, oh, just so you know, you're now mobile friendly. Boom. We've done that. They didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to change anything that they were doing. That was on us to make sure that everything worked properly. So updates, latest and greatest. Sometimes you let the experts deal with that, and you don't have to worry, right? You just use the software and make sure it works for you. This is a big one, backup and recover, right? If your hard drive died, if your computer died today, how many of you have backup or recovery, right? Good, many of you do, many people don't. And this is literally, so in the cloud, a lot of the cloud services have backup. They are saving that information. Our services, we actually do a daily backup of all of our websites, and I can't tell you the number of artists whose computer has died. They've lost all their images to all their artwork, and they go, what do we do? And we say, okay, well, we have all that information on our servers. Here's a file, and we give it to them so they can rebuild their local storage. But because they've uploaded it to their website, now anything they didn't upload to the website, we can't help them with. They've actually lost it. So a lot of cloud services are good. It's good to have a local copy, but also to have a copy maybe elsewhere, because also my husband, I think we have 3 copies. We have a copy locally, we have a copy in the cloud, and we have a copy at our family members' homes, right? Literally a hard copy, because he likes to make sure that if something were to happen with the cloud service, or if our house burnt or our apartment building burnt down, there's some other place we can go where we can get a physical copy. So think about that as well, right? A physical copy maybe somewhere else, a business versus home, or at a friend's or a cousin's house, and then you can keep that updated. But recovery is a big part of it, and they manage a lot of that. Generally, you choose it because maintenance, there's little to no maintenance. You just use the service, and it is their responsibility to make sure it works properly. You really don't have to maintain, other than obviously providing content and filling in the blanks. You still have to do that piece, but the actual pieces of the actual application, it's up to them to do that. So they're processing your data. They're processing and making sure that everything makes sense. Now the cons, the big cons. So, oh, sounds awesome, right? Great, woohoo, sign me up. So the cons, the big one that you want to be careful about is what we call vendor lock-in. So this is the idea that you put all your data in someone's application, in their software. Can you get it out? Basically, you can upload it, but can you download it? Can you take it with you? Facebook is a great example. Can you take your Facebook content with you? Yes, you can take it with you, but it's a blob, and you can't just take that Facebook blob and take it to Twitter and upload it to Twitter, and all of a sudden all your Facebook content is on Twitter. So how much what they call is lock-in, where basically your files are in a maybe proprietary format. So you really want to be careful and make sure before you sign on with any sort of service, how easily can I take that data away? If something changes or I need to go to a different service, how portable are my files and my data, right? Because that's a really big thing. If it's a specific format, it may be a big issue, right? So you want to think about that. Customization sometimes is very difficult. Again, they're serving a lot of people. I'm serving 600 artists. There's only but so much customization I can do for each artist. I can't give them a custom website, so I've created a tool that gives them a pretty good website, but if they want something super custom, I can't do that with the model that I have, right? They have to go somewhere else. So customization, figure out what can you customize and what can't you. Because sometimes that will be a big reason why you choose one versus the other. Or maybe there are certain features here that are really important to your business and others are less important, right? So it's a bit of give and take, because often you can do a few things, but you can't really do it absolutely specifically for your business. So it's kind of a generic tool, and you may have a couple of customization options, but not everything. Right? Reliability. You want to know, what are they guaranteeing you in terms of uptime of those servers and access to those servers? There's nothing worse than going, I need to get my data, and their servers are down. Or they might be doing maintenance. Or they might be, who knows, but you can't access it. So what is the reliability that they're guaranteeing me that will be there? Because this is your business in many cases, and customers don't care. They don't want to hear, oh, well, the service that I'm using isn't working. Well, they don't care. They just want what they want, and they want it now, right? So reliability, make sure that you really understand what their levels are, their service level agreements, how up are they going to be on the things that are happening. Control. How much control are you going to have over your data? Full control versus limited control. Once it's up there, again, what can you do with it? And what control will you have over who owns it? In other words, there's also going to be issues around privacy and data ownership. When I pull all my stuff off of Facebook, does Facebook actually get rid of all of my content? Right? Or does Facebook still have a copy of it? And so the question is yes, I can delete my file and everything else, but if Facebook still has a copy of it, they still have a certain amount of ownership over my content. And is that something you want to be part of? Right? The con here is you need an internet connection. Often that's a big con. You have to connect to the internet. And if you don't have an internet connection, it's really hard to make use of these tools. Some of the tools will work offline and have an offline component, so they will download to your local hard drive, and then when you get back online, you can connect and they'll upload the changes. So if that's important to you, make sure that that's an option before you sign up. Because if you always have to be online, and if you're okay with that, then that's fine. But if you realize there's a good chance I won't be online all the time, then you might not want to do some of this, or you might want to have one that does have an offline capability. Security is the big one, right? So this is my business data, and it's out there on the internet, and it's on someone else's server. How secure is it? And we have heard of lots of instances where companies have gotten hacked, services have gotten hacked. So, what is that? I'm not going to lie, there is a certain amount of risk that everyone's going to take in terms of putting your information out on the internet. It is similar to, we also can get hacked internally. I mean, your computer can get hacked. You can click on a link and you can get a virus, and people can have access to that as well. But for the security pieces, there are a couple of things that I would say. Make sure, again, back to my data, make sure you understand who owns the data. Do I own my data? Do they own my data? Is there some overlap? What data remains there, even if I cancel my account and if I leave? You want to know exactly if they get hacked, even after you've left your account, can somebody still get access to your customer records? Right? So something to really keep in mind, where is that? Does it actually get deleted, and what are their processes around that? Because I think that's really what you need to do for your own business and for your customers. You need to understand legal issues as well. Certain industries have restrictions around where servers can live. I work at UBC. UBC actually have a policy in most educational organizations in Canada that the servers have to live in Canada. So they cannot use any services that have servers in the US. Right? So if you want to use a US server, you are jumping through a lot of hoops to get approval, because for privacy issues, they don't want student records and anything else on servers outside of Canada. So understand the rules and regulations and restrictions around your business and where they are, because that can be a big issue. If you like, oh, there are all these cool services and it's just online and I just pay $19 US to a company in the US, but what are you doing in terms of the data that you have in your customer data? And now you are actually in the US territory. So anything in the US could apply to your records there. So just be aware of that. I'm not saying don't use it, but just be aware and it's something to consider. So now the good part, examples and best practices, and how do I use the cloud and where do I use the cloud? I'm going to start from the outside in. And so the first thing I'm going to talk about are just general websites, sort of cloud website templates. Wix is a website template company where you can basically sign up. They actually have free websites. Now it has usually powered by Wix. It has a little bit of data on it if it's free. If you want to get rid of that, you have to pay to get rid of any kind of branding by Wix. But they have lots of different themes and templates and dynamic, sort of, you can say, oh, I'm this kind of a company, and fill in the blanks, and you could have a website probably within, I'd say, 1 to 2 hours. Okay? So Wix is one of the bigger ones that's out there if you're trying to build a website from scratch. The other one is WordPress, which probably many of you have heard about. WordPress also has a free version online, but again, you don't get your own domain name. So if you want your own domain name, you know, yourname.com, you're going to have to pay extra for that. But if you're okay with yourname.wordpress.com, then you can do it for free. And also WordPress may put some advertising on it. So it depends on how you want to use it, but it may be a good way to get started and set something up and learn how to use the tool. So WordPress is what we would call a freemium model, where there's a free version and then there's a premium model. And for the premium model, you will upgrade and spend a little bit of money. So, you know, here are two, if you're thinking about a website build, there are two things. They're all mobile friendly, so they work on tablets and phones, and all of their designs are really good in that front. This is probably a service, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but this is for us probably the best decision we ever made for our business. It's called Zendesk Chat. Now there's also live chat, there are a variety of chats, but it is that little thing on your website where it says, talk to us now, right? Now, I've gone to many websites where they're always offline and nobody's available. We are generally available as long as we are awake, right? So our artists get stuck doing something, they literally click on a button and they start a chat with us. And we know, one of the benefits is we know exactly what page they're on, we know where they are, we can see exactly what kind of system they might have, so we can deal with, oh, is it Macintosh or Windows, and that comes through to us without us having to ask them, because sometimes they don't know, right? I don't know, I have a computer, right? That's what I get. It's like, okay, you know, so I can get a lot of information and find out what's going on. Zendesk Chat helps us around that. If we are offline, it sends us an email, and so even when we're offline, we can then respond. Our goal is to respond usually within an hour. If anybody asks us anything on our thing, within an hour we get back to you. Either with, I'm away from my desk and I'll get back to you later today if I can't solve it, or solving the issue within an hour. That is our goal, because I'm competing with Wix, I'm competing with WordPress in a lot of ways, and where I make the most money is on customer service. I'm there. We are basically a WordPress with training wheels, right? And there are a lot of people who are like, you know, I'm freaking out, how do I do this? And we're like, okay, do this, do that, or worst case, we'll do it for them. So if you have a business where customer service and customer experience is really important, people don't get personalized service very often anymore, right? and 24 hours, you're responding to someone within 24 hours has become the norm. Our artists all the time say, wow, an hour, like literally within 5 minutes, you got back to me. I can't believe that, right? That's the difference. And that's how we create Lockin, right? That's how, because it's like, sure, go to Wix, go to WordPress, go ahead. And we've had lots of people who've gone away and come back. Because they go, it's a better tool, maybe it has more bells and whistles, but they don't have the support. The other thing around Zendesk, this is Zendesk chat, but Zendesk also has a ticketing system. So as people have inquiries, you can use that for ticketing. We do use that as well. So if they send it to info@artsites.ca, it goes into our ticketing system. There are 3 of us, my husband, myself, and we have an admin who's in Abbotsford. We are all virtual. We do not have offices. And so someone then can field whatever comes in and respond to it, and we'll see that someone has responded to it. And if someone hasn't, that's how we manage our inbox that way, because we're 3 people, and it was better than going into someone's inbox like mine and sitting there until I got used to it. So it's sort of like a communal inbox, if you will, right? We're less about tickets, like real tickets, but more just responding to people quickly. Video. Videos become huge, right? So for collaboration, I do a lot of collaborating, I do a lot of consulting. I do consulting other companies on their digital strategy. I tend to use Skype a fair bit in terms of doing videos so they can see me, we can have a conversation. It feels a lot better than a phone call. Skype is generally free because most people have a Skype account, so it's call me on Skype. It doesn't cost you anything. But if you do, they do have a Skype premium service where you can make calls to actual telephone numbers and people can call into you. But Skype is a great video. Skype right now, yes, the latest is you can have up to 10 people for free on a conversation at the same time. Did you know that, right? So if you actually want to have a meeting or you want to do something collaboratively or brainstorm, and there's whiteboarding and there's all kinds of things you can do that are part of Skype. So it's a great tool to have virtual meetings if you're thinking about that. I also use Google Hangouts. Now, there's Google, I'm going to talk about Google, and there's going to be sort of iCloud, sort of Apple. They're kind of 2 and Microsoft. They're all different ecosystems, and once you sort of buy into one, there are a lot of things you can do with each one. So I'll try to be equal. But Google Hangouts, if you have a Gmail account, it's also a free video chat system. You can invite people, have multiple conversations just like Skype. What I love about Google Hangouts is you can actually start recording immediately, so without paying, so you can record your video conversations. It then ties in quite nicely to maybe a YouTube channel. It can be a private video on YouTube, so you can give somebody the link and say, here's a recording of our conversation we just had. So if you are doing collaboration, if you're doing brainstorming, you can record it. After you're done, it immediately goes to YouTube. You can give that link out to whoever you want to review it without editing. So it's kind of a nice workflow for anyone who wants to use it. Can you edit it? You can edit it, yes. Afterwards, you can. For most of my uses, I mean, I've used this for webinars. I've used this for pre-packaged content where I'm teaching courses. I'm teaching my students, my artists, how to use social media, and so I'll do a quick video. So you can edit it after you've recorded it. Generally, though, for most people, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time editing my videos. Obviously, you're capable of doing that, but for most people, if you're having a conversation, it's just a great way to have it as a record of what just happened, right? And if anyone who's in the conversation can then go back to it, if there are action items, or this is what you said, or this is what someone said, or someone who couldn't be there, it's a great way to capture that, right? Newsletters. I know where it's like, oh, it's all social media. I teach social media. Newsletters are still really, really valuable because they go into people's inboxes. They've chosen to get information from you, and so try to give them something of value. I tend to we use MailChimp, which is an email newsletter company. That's all they do are newsletters. And so we use them. Constant Contact is another one that a lot of people have used. And basically it's free. They have a free one. It just has on the bottom, powered by MailChimp at the bottom of your newsletter. Or if you want to get rid of that, you pay, is it $10 or $19 a month to get rid of any branding. So it's just your brand and not MailChimp. They have templates. They have templates by industry, so you can have something that makes, they have sort of stock images that you can use to make it pretty and interesting. So if you want to do newsletters, I would strongly recommend either one of those as a way to do that. And they can deal with bounces, they can deal with responses. This is all they do. Again, back to my thing, Gmail's great, but their dealing with sort of professional email newsletters. And so they have a lot of things. They can tie it into your Facebook account. We have it tied to our Facebook and Twitter account, so when I send out a newsletter, automatically a link goes out to Twitter, automatically a link goes out to Facebook. Yes, the weekly newsletter has gone out, and here's what it's about, and here's some information. So automating a lot of those pieces. If you are doing social media, HootSuite is a great free tool. They're a local company. They have what they call the HootSuite dashboard, where you can schedule posts across all of your channels: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. So basically, it's a way, what they call, of sort of scheduling and managing your social media posts. So you can have things that are going to post later, and you can do it all in one place. You can do that with Facebook on Facebook pages, but you often have to go to each particular social media. You do it all in one place. You can say, oh, I want this to go to Twitter at 10 a.m. I want this to go to Facebook at 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. or whatever the case might be. So HootSuite is a great social media manager tool. It's free. Again, it has a premium version if you have multiple people managing your account, or if you want better analytics. That's where you will pay if you want more information. It has basic analytics, but if you want to really slice and dice what you're seeing, you probably will want to pay as well.
It's not free anymore. It's 1 month for free.
1 month for free, and then really, they got rid of the free one. We'll have to talk to Ryan about that. Another one, and this is what's around millennials in particular. Millennials are used to messaging, right? And we kind of talk about that, and sort of there's this whole idea of they message all the time on their phones, and whether it's WhatsApp or text messaging. And this is another local company called Slack. And Slack is basically, it's a messaging system primarily for internal communications within a company. And you can have channels where you're discussing various things. So in my company, we use, because our admin is in Abbotsford, my husband is in the office next door, and I'm where I am, we literally have sort of these discussions. Oh, I had a thought, you just put it on. So we have different channels. One might be brainstorming, we have one for newsletters, one for tech updates, one for general, one for customer inquiries. So if somebody has something, they can just post it, the other person will immediately. It's kind of like a text messaging, but it's internal only. So it's a
Why not use just Facebook groups, a private group?
You could use Facebook private groups, but again, it's on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know,
private.
it is private, but Facebook has it, right?
Okay.
And so if you're about privacy,
But
and for,
Slack has it.
well, Slack does have it, and you know, but I would rather, Facebook. I'm not sure if that information will ever go away. Slack is, so there are lots of different messaging. This is just the one I use, and what I find is you can subscribe to different ones depending on where you are in the business. So if you have a lot of people, you can also collaborate with people outside of the company as well, right? So.
I'm not criticizing, I'm just asking.
No, you can do it with groups, but you have to set a Facebook group. And the issue with Facebook groups, and here's the thing, is that not everybody wants to be on Facebook, right? So, you know, for me, you know, I don't want necessarily my employees to have a Facebook account to communicate with me. I don't want to force that. There are some people who are like, Facebook only is for me privately, it is not professionally. So you have to be very careful when you're using a lot of these tools, because you can't make assumptions that people want to sign up for that service, right? Another one, Asana, is similar to Slack. It's another sort of messaging system, and it also does a lot of project management. So if you're doing project management, you can have tasks and assign it to people and things along those lines. They also have a free version. So you can have tasks, what do I have to do today? You can assign it to people within your company. So project management is sometimes really helpful if that's something you need to do. This is in accounting. So a lot of us accounting, we have a lot of CPAs here today. Obviously QuickBooks Online is a really great service. It's an online cloud, and I'm sure many of you may be making use of it. I decided to try to find the free route, because free is always better for me. I'm using a company called Wave, Wave Accounting, and waveapps.com. And basically Wave is free, and it's really good for what I consider businesses. There is a company, wrong direction. There is a company called FreshBooks that maybe many of you have heard about. FreshBooks also has a great thing, but they're mostly for consultants. So where you're invoicing clients based on billable hours, FreshBooks is great. But I have subscriptions, I have annual income, I have revenue, I have inventory, I have capital assets, I have a variety of other things. So I need actually a full accounting system that can manage that. And Wave is based out of Toronto, so they're a Canadian company. They do GST as well, so they have that all built into their systems. And if that's the right price point for you, then it's something you can do. You can then have your CPAs or accountants look at your numbers. I'm feeding all of my business accounts automatically into it. So yes?
I was just wondering, are you going to make these slides available to us?
I can make the
So
slides
they're available on the video.
No, but it's much better if they're available through an email.
I can do that, yeah, absolutely.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
So Wave is definitely, you can do invoices, but there's just a lot more for, I would say, a business that has multiple customers, a traditional customer base that you're dealing with. I've been using it for 4 years and have been filing my taxes and everything else with it, and it's been really, really great. Now I have a financial background, so I'm doing a lot of the stuff myself, but you could then have your accountants have access to the accounts and making sure the numbers are reconciling on a monthly basis or whatever a bookkeeper needs to do. All of my bank accounts go in there automatically, all of my PayPal goes in there automatically. So like literally it just pulls it all in, and I look at the numbers, and sometimes you have to do a little bit of tweaking because you're like, oh, I want to make that in a different category. It'll sort of pre-categorize things, but you then have to sort of just double check to make sure it's in the right category. And it kind of makes my life a whole lot easier. So Wave is great. QuickBooks is another one, awesome. QuickBooks has a lot more money, you pay for it. They have, I think they do better on some of the handling. I was talking to someone earlier of taking pictures of receipts and expenses and snapping that and going straight into QuickBooks. Wave doesn't have that, so there are going to be some trade-offs for free versus paying. And I think the question is, how many transactions do you have, and what is the bulk of it? Do you have a lot of expenses that you are always tallying? We don't, so that's not a big issue for me. But if you are, then maybe there might be other options that work better. As I said, FreshBooks is great. It's another accounting system. It works really well for billable hour consultants. And if you have like lots of people that you're dealing with, oh, I'm a consultant and I need to say this is how many hours I'm dealing with, so independent professional service providers. That's what I would recommend. Scythe is another service. It's $19 a month. And what I love about Scythe is you can actually integrate, it creates a dashboard, a business dashboard, where you can actually say, here's my banking account information, here's my financial information, here's my Google Analytics information, here are my social media accounts. And it'll create a dashboard with all of the information of what's happened in each one of those accounts. So you can connect it to a variety of different services, and it's just literally a nice business dashboard. You can say, here are my revenues, here are my users, here are how many tickets. I can connect it to Zendesk and see how many tickets we've had, how long has it taken us. So it's kind of, if I just want a quick overview of what's going on and how things are going, it's a great way to do that. And it basically is more a dashboard, a visual dashboard, than it is a service, and it then ties into all the various services that you have. So I strongly recommend this if you're looking for nice, easy ways to show people what's going on and where things are going well, because sometimes we don't have the time to really see the trends, right? Google Analytics is great for analytics on your website. It is super powerful, it is free, but it is also a bear sometimes to figure out what's going on, right? It's as with most things, I say sometimes power users are great, but sometimes it's too much information and I can't make sense of it. I'm not a web analytics guru, so so trying to figure out exactly what all this means is great if you have it and if you have the time to figure it out. There are lots of articles I can send to people if you're interested in learning how to better use that. So I have figured it out, but it is a bit overwhelming. I tend to recommend to all of our artists a service called StatCounter. Again, it's free. And what's really nice is they'll send you they'll email you once a week an update as to what's happening, how many people have come, visitors, and it's a lot more manageable. They sort of pre-package it. It might have less information, but it's prettier and easier, and you can go through and go, okay, now I understand. Oh yeah, this is where the people came from. So I'm not saying it's not as power user as Google Analytics, but it has all the things that most people need to figure out what's going on with their business. So StatCounter, again, it's free. You put a code on your website, or you can put it in social media even, and then it'll tell you what's going on in those places. Okay. iCloud is obviously for those who are Macs, is an option around basically creating a bit of a backup to what you have on your hard drive. So you can actually have all of your files that are on your Mac upload to iCloud and be sort of redundant there. So you have a backup in the cloud of any of the files or applications that you have on your laptop or on your local system. So that some people are using that as a backup mechanism. I also am using Google Drive, which is similar to iCloud, where literally I create, my local files are on my local hard drive, but then they sync to the cloud over time. So when I change a file, then Google syncs it. And so what's great about that is literally if I lost my laptop today or if I didn't have it, I could take anyone's laptop, go to my Google Drive, and I could actually download this particular presentation because it's on my hard drive at home and it's in the cloud. Yes, Joanne?
Does that mean you don't have to have, like I have a Mac and I have a time machine,
Mhm.
and then of course
Yeah,
I also
iCloud.
have the iCloud.
Yep.
So is that a bit too much? Like, do I need all those?
No, I mean it's really good to, like, again, it's really good because the Mac, no. The simple answer is no.
Okay.
And my husband probably say, I'm not sure if that's enough, because he's paranoid. He's an IT guy. But I definitely, we also have a time machine at home. So we have a Mac, we have a time machine. I have Google Drive. We have, there's another program called Crash Plan and Carbonite. There too, and they actually will do backups just of your hard drive. So they will do a backup. The problem is that it's more, it's harder to retrieve the file. So it's more, if something catastrophic happens, you could go and download everything. Whereas iCloud and Google Drive are more real time. So you actually have access to these files from any computer if that has access to the internet, right? So Google Drive is very similar to iCloud. I use Google Docs a fair bit from collaboration purposes. And when I say that provided you're not dealing with a lot of Office, and there is Office 365, and I will mention that. But if you aren't dealing with a lot of Microsoft Office people, I use a lot of documents. They have documents, spreadsheets, and presentations, which are very similar to Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. In Google Docs, what's great is I can share this with someone and say, hey, let's brainstorm some ideas. Let's do something. Let's create an outline for a presentation, and you can do it collaboratively. And they can edit there, they can add to it, and I don't have to. There's less back and forth emails. Have you ever had a back and forth email where you're like trying to do updates and revisions, and it's like, where are we? I can't remember which was the last revision I had. If you do a lot of that, something like this can be really great. Or if there are steps or instructions or something you want to do, using any one of these, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or just a document, sometimes an outline bullets. What do you think we should do? I had some ideas this week. Here they are. Give me your feedback. Leave me some comments, and you can do a little bit of asynchronous sort of brainstorming with someone else, collaboration. Google has something called Forms. I don't know if you guys are ever familiar with it, but Google Forms is a great thing where you can create forms that you can put up on a website where people fill in their name, all those things, fill in your name, fill in this thing, and it goes into a Google spreadsheet so you can then order it and see what people have said or do everything else. So it's a really nice, easy way. They have templates to get sort of a nice form on your website and get information from others, right? Office 365 is sort of the Microsoft version, and depending on who you're working with, you may want to work with Office 365, which also has Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, and Word. If you're doing a lot of document sharing with others who use Word, Excel, and those file formats, then you might choose to use Office 365 similarly. The one challenge with Office 365 is they're starting to get collaborative, but you're still sending files back and forth. And I always find that's where things kind of get weird. How do I save it? What's the protocol? What's the last version? Where were we? And things can get a little lost in sort of the email shuffle. But Office 365 has some great tools, and there's an online version as well. And OneDrive is their sort of online hard drive. So Google Drive has their storage up there. Microsoft has OneDrive, which is their cloud storage, similar to iCloud. So there's iCloud, Google Drive, and OneDrive, sort of depending on which system you guys want to sort of not lock into, but be part of. Dropbox is another one that I want to mention because a lot of people have heard about it. And Dropbox is really good for file sharing of large files. So you have a huge, video, and you want to send it to somebody. You can't send it via email because it's too big to send via email. You might put it on Dropbox and give someone the link to that. Now you could do that on any of the other ones. You could do it on iCloud and everything else. But the idea here is that for large media, you can do that. Because I deal with a lot of artists and visual artists, there often are big files, big images, and so it's an easier way to say, hey, just download it from here, here's the link, and something to do. So Dropbox is another thing that you might want to do. And you can have shared folders so people can put things in these shared folders as well. There's one group of software packages called Zoho with a Z, Zoho.com, and they have pretty much probably any kind of small business package you can think of. Now, I haven't used it. I've had some people use it, but if you're starting from scratch and you're trying to figure out your business operations, they have like customer relationship management software for small businesses. They have mail services, they have accounting, they do have a Canadian version of it as well, so that deals with GST and everything else. It's not just US. They even have an app builder if you want to build a mobile app. That's very simplified for small businesses. And then under desk, they have like a chat system and ticket system. So I didn't want to not mention Zoho. Each one of these sort of areas probably has about 4 or 5 components to them. So it's pretty broad, and you can pick and choose and pay for what you need. So you can make it very modular. So it's like, oh, I need this piece from this section and this piece from this section, but I don't need the accounting because I already have my own accounting. You can kind of pick and choose. So I wanted to highlight because I think that they have some great services for the small business, home office users. And so I definitely want to mention that. Okay, finally, LastPass. So I wanted to talk about passwords. When we're talking about cloud hacking, okay, number one thing is please don't use the same password for all of your cloud services. Because if anyone gets hacked, what do you think those hackers are going to do? They're going to go to every other service out there and try to use that same username and that same password to see if they can get your information from elsewhere. So try to have a different password for every service you use. A nightmare, I know. You know, how will I remember it? There are these things called password managers. LastPass is one of them. There's another one called OnePass. And basically the idea is they will create passwords that you will never be able to remember, but it is a software. You have to remember one password to get into this one, and then this one has all of your passwords from all the various websites. They will also pre-populate it on the web, so you can just click, and I don't have to remember everything. Yes?
On something like this, would they change the password once a month or something like that?
They wouldn't change a password, although actually I think you can set it up. Basically, when you get to a website where it says, set up a user account and a password, I think when you set it up, you can actually ask it to change the password once a month, if that is part of the process. The other thing is, all your passwords within LastPass are encrypted. So even LastPass does not know what your passwords are. So if basically something happens, it's not like your passwords are in their database unencrypted, like, okay, my password is Rochelle. They don't see Rochelle, they see something that has already been encrypted, and they can't easily decrypt it. So the only thing about this is you need to make sure that you understand what's going on here, that you have the one password to get logged in here. Yes?
Now, the thing is, do you then not know what any of these passwords
No, you do. You can see them. So you can see exactly the passwords they create. You can actually see them and the ones that they're creating. You can say, I want it to be 8 characters. I want it to be pronounceable. I want to have a number in it. So you can actually set a couple of things that make maybe the passwords easier, and it will show you. It'll show you when you log in with your appropriate password to the software what the password is, but it doesn't show the company. Yeah. Right.
This is online, right?
It's online and it's on mobile as well. So they have a mobile app as well as they have it online. So
what's the password for that?
So basically you need one password to get into LastPass, right? And then basically it opens up everything else.
Yeah, LastPass is great.
Yeah, LastPass is probably the one I would recommend. But there are lots out there, so I'm not going to be like it's the only one, but it's the one that I use. It's the one my husband uses. And we've spent a lot of time around security trying to figure out what we think are the best.
And that's what it's called, LastPass?
LastPass, yeah, .com, yeah.
You go online, Google it.
Yep, just .com.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. So my key takeaways, I'm done. Basically, understand your data portability. Like, how can you get your data out of these services and make sure that you really understand what you can take and what you can't take. And what is the data privacy and ownership? Who owns that data once you leave and even while it's there? Always review your service level agreements. Use different passwords for different cloud services. Really key, right? Consider using a password manager, and definitely know the legal restrictions around your industry and, more importantly, your customers. If you're dealing with young children, there are certain legal things about what you can collect and what you can't collect and where those live. So again, be very clear about what are those things for online communications. Okay? Hopefully you guys have a better sense of that. Any quick questions? I know Judy's like, I'm trying to get out, so I apologize for taking so long, but quick questions? I will be here afterwards, so if you have something and you want to ask me, feel free to just ask me afterwards. So, and my contact information. So I don't have cards, but Rochelle@rochelle.ca. So if you can spell my name, then you can find me. It's not too hard. And so I thank you guys for your time this morning, and hopefully that's been informative and giving you a few things to think about in terms of managing your cloud computing needs.